President Muhammadu Buhari is meeting with the Nigerian Governors Forum in Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. The meeting, which is ongoing at the Presidential Villa, is being attended by most of the state governors across the country. In the meantime, the President has inaugurated a 30-member National Minimum Wage Committee at the Presidential Villa. The tripartite committee has the task of negotiating a new national minimum wage for Nigerian workers. Will the proposal of 54,000 naira minimum wage prescribed by many be adopted or not? Will states be able to pay a new minimum wage despite the odds of not being able to pay the current 18,000 minimum wage by most states of the Federation? What if the government decides to go the way of full autonomy for all states? What then? Data feeds are coming through in one place simultaneously on all our social media platforms, channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelshub. You can follow us right now on m.channelstv.com and on Facebook as well. We've got all our platforms on social media covered. Be part of the show. Tweet at Gimba Omar CTV and use the hashtag State of the Nation to air your thoughts on the subject. Corruption in Nigeria is cancerous and has defied every effort at eradicating it while making the country a laughingstock in the Committee of Nations. There are few nations that are as rich as Nigeria, yet poor. This much was said by the acting chairman of the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the EFCC, Mr. Ibrahim Magu, who was speaking at the 68th General Assembly of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria, which has the theme, the Nigerian media and the war against corruption. Poverty in the midst of wealth is the paradox of our existence, and corruption is the culprit. More coming from the EFCC boss, who has only recently tried to arrest the former DSS boss but wasn't allowed to do so by operatives of the DSS. We'll focus on this in just a moment on today's show. It's prime time here in Lagos, and this is State of the Nation. Rest of the world. I am Gimba Omar and this is State of the Nation. Right behind me, data feeds are still coming through on all our social media platforms in one place simultaneously. Be part of the show, tweet at Gimba Omar CTV and use the hashtag State of the Nation to air your thoughts. For many, it's a messy show of supremacy between the EFCC and the DSS when the chairman of the anti-graft body, Ibrahim Magu, went on to arrest the former DSS boss, Ekpeyong. But that didn't happen, and that attempt at arrest was thwarted. The counsel to the EFCC, Wahab Shitu, joins me from our Abuja studios. And right here with me in the studio here is Barrister Evan Sofili, a constitutional lawyer. I want to thank both of you for coming on the show at this time. Let's begin with you, Mr. Shitu, there in Abuja. The EFCC boss, Ibrahim Magu, pretty interesting individual he is. He has insisted that the war on corruption must succeed. Matter of fact, the president is fully in support of rooting out corruption in this administration. But one wonders to this time why the president has kept quiet. What is going on?
Well, I have no way of speculating on the rationale for the silence of Mr. President. But what I can say is that this president is one president that is committed to the observance of the rule of law and constitutional provisions, and he does not like to interfere with the work of relevant agencies. He believes that having put people in charge of agencies, those agencies should be able to perform in line with their mandate, aware of their limitations under the law. Having also said that, I think the alleged face-off, or what appears to be a face-off between EFCC and DSS, is a law and order issue. It's a legal issue. It's a rule of law issue. It's a constitutional issue. And so if we want to find out who is right or who is wrong between agencies who ought to be collaborating and working in harmony, we can only make reference to relevant constitutional and statutory provisions. If you look at Section 6 of the EFCC Act, the EFCC is empowered to enforce the provisions of the Act. By Section 6J of the EFCC Act, EFCC is supposed to collaborate with government bodies within and outside Nigeria. By Section 7, EFCC is invested with special investigative powers to proceed against any person, corporate body, or organization. And by Section 72, subsection 2 of the EFCC Act, EFCC is empowered to enforce the provisions of the Money Laundering Act, Advanced Free Fraud Act, Fair Banks Act, and other, relevant statutes concerned with the economic and financial crimes. And under Section 38 of Section 2 of the EFCC Act, willful obstruction of the activities of the Commission is an offense, which attracts...
Let me ask you, let me just butt in there, my apologies, because...
a minimum of 5 years.
Let me just butt in there. Let me butt in there for just a minute or two. But in this particular case, did the EFCC acting chairman follow due process in carrying out his intended arrest?
This is exactly the point I'm trying to make. I've just laid the foundation to show that EFCC, under Ibrahim Magu, always acts in line with the prescription of the rule of law. So anybody who wants to comment on this issue must be guided by the provisions of the rule of law. In this particular case, particularly in the case of Mr. Ekpeyong, there was a telephone conversation with him, requesting him to come over to the commission. He then requested that there should be a formal invitation, which was written to him on 30th of October 2017. He was the one who furnished the address of his own residential address, through which the invitation could be written. And in line with that, a formal invitation was sent to him on 30th of October. Apart from that, as I speak to you, a valid search warrant in the hand of Chief Magistrate Elizabeth Jones Warning, Chief Magistrate Court 2, sitting at Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, was issued on the 21st of November to EFCC, a valid search warrant. This is a copy. Apart from this valid search warrant, there is this search warrant allows EFCC officials to enter into the premises. Apart from this search warrant, there's also a valid warrant of arrest given to EFCC to arrest SNE Ita. So in this case, with respect to SNE Ita, there is a valid search warrant obtained by EFCC. There's also a valid warrant of arrest obtained by EFCC, which shows fundamental compliance with the provisions of the law.
Okay,
and again, in the case of... Let me put you on hold.
Let me put you on... As a matter of fact, the question then pops out, at what point were those warrant of arrest and warrant of search warrant, were they gotten before he went to the EFCC, the former DSS property and his house? Was it before or after?
Yes. Yes, these were obtained, this warrant of arrest and search warrants were obtained before they went into the premises.